Hey guys, why don't you go take a seat over there? Oh, me? Oh, I'm Bruce Wayne. I'm just super sexualized Bruce Wayne. Hey guys, welcome back to From Wayne to Wonder, our Batman review. And guys, let me just tell you, my name is George Clooney, and I'm here to just seduce everyone I talk to on screen. Welcome back to Project Potter, guys. Welcome back to From Wayne to Wonder, our Batman review. My name is Kyler, your host. If you guys have not been to the channel before, welcome to Project Potter. Appreciate you guys stopping by. This is our Batman review leading up to the new film, the Matt Reeves Batman, guys. We've gone through the 1966 Batman, the 1989 Batman, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, leading up so far, guys. And this is another film. We got Batman and Robin, the last sort of old Batman movie, guys, before we get into the Dark Knight trilogy, and then obviously into the new Batman. So I'm very excited to talk about this movie, guys, and even more excited really to move on to the Dark Knight trilogy next week. But if you haven't seen the show before, what we do is my Bat thoughts, or just kind of quick thoughts on the movie, things I like, things I didn't like. The Hero We Deserve, which is my favorite character, guys. The character who watched the world burn, which is the least favorite character, a score out of 10, and the rankings, of course. So guys, welcome back to our Batman review. And Batman and Robin, guys, it's a film. It's certainly a film. This is the first bad movie of the all of the Batman movies that I've watched so far. This is the first bad movie that I've seen so far. Now, let me be clear, guys, that a bad movie does not necessarily mean I didn't have fun with this movie, because I definitely had fun. Let me just say, guys, that Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze, one of my favorite things in cinematic history. Just a fantastic move. And this is like peak Arnold. This is late 90s Arnold, I believe, where he's like coming off Terminator and he's just action star Arnold. And dude, to put him in like all blue makeup and just have him be goofy and have all of the best one lines is just an absolute treat. And I saved this movie, honestly, from being a much lower score than what I'll end up giving it. But we got George Clooney as Batman and Bruce Wayne, guys. This is the third Bruce Wayne Batman we've had in as many movies. So we went from Keaton to Kilmer and then to Clooney. And it was weird for Val Kilmer to only get one, because I actually liked Val Kilmer portrayal as Bruce and Batman. I thought he was really good. I haven't been crazy about Keaton, as you guys will know if you guys have been following along the series here. But George Clooney's Batman makes me realize maybe Michael Keaton's wasn't so bad. And I really like Val Kilmer's performance, so we'll get into that later, guys. But things I really liked about this movie, obviously Mr. Freeze, as Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze, was amazing, dude. Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy, for most of the movie, I thought was excellent. That was great. More, I think Chris O'Connell is his name as Robin. That was really cool. We kind of forced Batgirl in there. I didn't love that. And obviously George Clooney as Bruce Wayne and Batman just, I thought, was absolutely horrendous. I mean, how did they give Arnold Schwarzenegger all of the coolest lines, dude? Almost every line he has in here is a pun, but the movie kicks right off and it's like, boom, there's a guy, he's freezing everyone up, he's calling himself Mr. Freeze, and then he's like, it's a cold town. It's just like, dude, there's so many lines where he's like, you want to know how the dinosaurs died? The Ice Age. It's like, what are we doing here? It was just such an over-the-top portrayal where, like I mentioned, guys, in my Batman Forever review, that I love Jim Carrey's performance because it was so goofy and so wacky. And this kind of follows along that trend, except it's not nearly as strong of a story, or the characters, I think, aren't nearly as good. Arnold shines like a bright, cold star, guys. Like a cold diamond, I'll tell you that much. He's so good. All of his lines were just hilarious. And like every time Arnold spoke, I was like, dude, give me another piece of gold, because you're just giving me the best and funniest lines. And even though they're all like cheesy puns, they're so good. He was also like a great villain too. Like he was scary. That when he gets brought into Arkham Asylum, their two guards are coming over and he's like, freeze. He's like, that will be the harbinger of your doom. And I was like, oh my God, dude, that's fucking cool as shit. So Poison Ivy's created, and she's kind of created as a subplot of Bane, who we get Bane. And this is not Bane, you know. This is the Bane that goes crazy, and he looks like he should be in WWE Royal Rumble. But this is indeed the Bane from the comics, and he is got wires coming out of his mouth, and this is not the Bane from Dark Knight Rises. That comes later. We get Bane, and he's comic book Bane. He's crazy Bane, and this is kind of a messed up scene where they take like a normal like soldier, and I don't even know what's going on, but basically like Wayne Enterprises is doing these weird experiments, and this is kind of like what we saw last movie with Batman Forever, where Jim Carrey is like trying to do all these crazy experiments, and Bruce is like, I'm going to shut it down. It's like he goes around and he's like figures out whether he should fund things. And I thought this was a cool aspect, but they're like, oh, I'm just going to take this soldier who I don't know if he volunteered or what, but he gets in the table and he's like, oh, I'm going to put in steroids and venom and poison into him. And the guy's like, what? And then he puts it into him and it like has a really terrible, like painful time. And the guy's muscles grow up and it's like, for some reason, he puts a fucking luchador mask on at him. I don't know why. But then we get Bane, and then, but like it sucks all of his like brain power apparently too, because he's like, raw, and it's just weird because then the guy goes in and Poison Ivy's like, oh my God, well, she's not Poison Ivy yet, but Uma Thurman is like, oh my God, you can't be doing these experiments. And then he's like, oh, you're going to die like the rest of them or something. And he like throws her to the ground and then like fucking pushes the venom on top of her and then it like sinks in there and all the chemicals mix in the plants and shit. And then it turns out that she like comes back to life and he's like, oh, you're looking different. And she uses this love potion or this like these pheromones on all the guys. So all the guys like fall in love with her, but it's like a really obvious effect every time. I'm surprised nobody was like, did you see that? This chick just like blew pheromones at that guy and now he's acting all crazy. There's a scene where she comes in, she teams up with Bane and she like is using Bane for the muscle and he dresses in like a big monkey suit and they show up to the diamond, like Bruce is giving away diamonds or something. I don't know. The story wasn't interesting enough to keep my attention for the whole thing, honestly, guys. But they come in with a big monkey suit. He like shoots it onto all of the whole crowd, so the crowd's like in love with her, and then she like undresses and Uma Thurman looks great and Poison Ivy is super sexy as she always is, which is great. But then we get like Bane in the gorilla suit and then she's like, we have work to do, and then Bane takes off the helmet and he's like, monkey work, and I'm like, sure, dude. Like Bane just like repeats he's just the one word like idiot that just repeats things, and I was just like, I don't like this version of Bane, dude. I obviously love the Nolan Bane and like the smart, intelligent, like he's got a plan, he's fighting for the people of Gotham. And this one, I'm just like, Bane is just a senseless idiot who's, I mean, granted, he's pumped full of venom, and they have like a turbo button on him where they're like go, and they like tell him, but I don't know. It's just really weird, but. This movie, again, suffers like the last movie did with Two-Face and Riddler, where it's like there's too many villains, dude. You can't have this many villains. So you have, obviously, Mr. Freeze, who's like the main star of the show, who is great, but then you have Poison Ivy, and then you have Bane just kind of hanging out, and it's like, why do we have all the villains in one movie? And I get it. We already went through the Joker. We already went through the Penguin. We already went through Two-Face. We already went through the Riddler. I get it. Batman has iconic villains, but they didn't have to push them. They didn't have to squeeze them into one movie. The whole story, guys, where I was just like, I don't know. I love the Dick Grayson stuff. I will say that. Having Batgirl come in was kind of weird, where she just shows up and she's like, Uncle Alfred. And then he's like, oh, hello. And then Alfred's sick, but like it's like a late plot point where he's like dying. And it's weird, but like there's, again, this is the third Alfred. No, sorry. This is the one Alfred. This is the third Bruce Wayne that has dealt with this Alfred. So they're supposed to build it up like, oh, Alfred's dying. Oh my God, Bruce, you need to go by his side. Then it's just like George Clooney, and it's like we've seen Michael Keaton with this Alfred, and I didn't think they got along great. Then we saw Val Kilmer with this Alfred. I didn't think that was great. And now we have George Clooney with this Alfred. And it's like, you can't build any camaraderie or you can't build any sort of relationship when you have three different Bruce Wayne and Batmans, when it's Bruce Wayne, Batman, and Alfred. And they're supposed to be like this. And it's like, that's also why I think when we get to it, guys, the Dark Knight trilogy works so well, because we have Christian Bale for all three movies, and we have Michael Caine for all three movies as Alfred. And so I think that really works to build this like great story. And so we'll obviously get into that. And obviously those movies are better than this, but yeah, those are some things I like. Guys, I'm just going to warn you right now that this review is not meant for children. If you have children in the room or watching this, you tell them to get to bed right now, because it's a goddamn school night. Okay, actually, when this goes up, this is gonna be Friday, so it's not gonna be a school night. But either way, guys, send those kids to bed. Okay, it's late enough. Okay, it's late enough. Why do we have nipples on the Batman suit. We don't need nipples on the Batman suit. You don't need to put the different pieces of the human body on the outside. We understand that that's the chest plate, okay? Same with Batgirl's costume. Do we have to put titties on there? No. We don't have to put titties on there. You don't see a bat dick. You don't see a bat dick on his suit too. Why? Dude, and why does he have a different suit? Why is there a different suit for Batman? He's had 3 different suits. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, just because we have a new actor doesn't mean we have to have a new bat suit, dude. Have him have a badass suit. The suit looks okay. The nipples look terrible. I don't understand why the nipples are on there. We don't need bat nipples. It doesn't make any sense. I don't get it. Also, I think I touched on this earlier, guys, but I loved all the Dick Grayson stuff, how he's like, you know, constantly being undermined by Batman, and they're talking about how he's living in Batman's shadow, and Poison Ivy tries to seduce him. I thought that was really cool. And he's like, no, he's like, let me be my own. He's like, I'm going solo, but they do that like the last 20 minutes, and then he just never does that. And it's just weird, but he's got the bike again. He continues to be badass. Robin is awesome, dude. He's just a little too like thirsty in this movie, where he's like, you know, Alfred's niece shows up and he's like, please be for me. And I'm like, bro, you gotta you're Robin, dude. Play it a little bit cooler, man. You know what I mean? Like, some things I did not like in this movie, guys. George motherfucking Clooney. The worst Batman, dude. Easily the worst Batman. I mean, George Clooney, guys, let me ask you a question. Why is George Clooney... No, let me rephrase this. Why is Bruce Wayne trying to have sex with Alfred? Because that's what I thought he was doing. Dude, why is George Clooney seducing everyone he's on camera with? He's like talking to Alfred, and Alfred's like dying, and he's like, yeah, you are. He's like, oh, hey, Alfred. He's like, what up, dude? I'm just in my study over here. Bruce, what are you doing? George Clooney doesn't have he doesn't change his facial expressions. And like, I talked about how Michael Keaton just stared at the camera, but Michael Keaton's got a great focused face, okay? Michael Keaton reaches into his bag and takes out the different emotions. And even though he's like a subtle character, he still plays that Bruce Wayne kind of philanthropist, that kind of like entrepreneur type. George Clooney, dude, his line delivery was horrible. Like, all of the lines where he was like, oh yeah, hey, thanks for showing up, Robin. Okay, yeah, Robin, hey, go over there. Okay, it's like, what are you doing, dude? Also, guys, I just want to talk about how Robin's plan in the beginning, when Mr. Freeze is in like the rocket that he just built into this building, apparently, he goes up and he's gonna like freeze Batman, definitely Batman. I don't think he knew Robin was there. And then like have the missile fall down to the ground while he parachutes out. Mr. Freeze has got some dope ass wings, guys, that I'm like, whoa, bro, am I watching Spider-Man or am I watching Mr. Freeze? I don't know. Robin's big plan was to hop onto the outside of a rocket and then just go up and hope that he opens the door. Bro, you're going to either fall off of the rocket or you're going to die or run out of oxygen. I'm like, Robin, that was your plan, dude? Hey, maybe when you go to stick onto maybe when the rocket's taken off, dude, you just go, I'll catch the next one. I'm good, dude. I don't think going on the outside of this rocket that has no possible way of opening, really, unless someone happens to eject from it, I don't think that's your best plan of action, Robin. So maybe when Batman says you're not ready and you almost died in Mr. Freeze, maybe you should listen to him, because that was a terrible move. I thought Clooney was awful. He's the only one that really stood out to me as being really bad. I thought the rest was pretty good, but just the story overall, I did not care for. And this movie dragged a little bit, guys. Jumping over to the hero we deserve, guys, for the best character in this one. Without a doubt, it's Mr. Freeze. It might be a cold world, but he's going to freeze all of it. The harbinger of your doom. Do you know how the dinosaurs died? It was the Ice Age. Gotham is going to be frozen. The only thing, guys, I will say, what is Mr. Freeze's plan here? Obviously, they show how like he fell into a fucking big tank of shit again, doing experiments and hanging out. Why is he hanging out on the outside of a railing, dude? Right above a huge fucking vat of negative 50-degree water. What are you doing, dude? Get behind the railing. He falls in there and he gets the fucking cold, like, put it into his DNA. That's all cool. But Mr. Freeze is always really interesting. And obviously the animated, like, Mr. Freeze, Batman animated series, Mr. Freeze is amazing, the GOAT, Mr. Freeze. But he's so cool because he will stop at nothing to find a cure for himself and, most importantly, his wife. And he like will kill people or die himself to save his wife. And so it's cool because they had her in the tank, And then he just didn't. He was just like, "Oh, I want to freeze all of Gotham, so it'll be me and the Poison Ivy, and we will rule over." And I'm like, "Why though? Like what? Why would you freeze everyone? First of all, dude, if you freeze everyone, you're not gonna like collaborate with doctors or anything and get a cure for yourself and for your wife. So that just seemed weird to me, and I'm just like, I don't know. Even if you're trying to freeze everything, then you go over and it's like, cool, you can go through the city. He said he's gonna like keep the city hostage, but I'm like, they're not hostage if they're just frozen, dude. You just basically just killed everyone. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. But I was just like, all right, well, that's your big plan. But I thought Arnold was so good and so funny, dude. And I like every single line he had. I can't remember most of them, but like I was laughing so hard, dude, because I was like, man, these are just great. They gave him all the best one-liners, and I thought he genuinely like looked really awesome, and he was pretty foreboding. And so I thought Arnold as Mr. Freeze was the best character in this movie, and I thought he was really entertaining and really made me not really hate this movie as much as I thought I was going to hate it. Okay, guys, who watched The World Burn? I'm going to say for the worst character, guys, it is without a doubt Bruce Wayne, George Clooney, Batman. What are you doing, man? How are we reviewing a Batman in review? And it's Batman and Robin, and one of the characters in the title is named Batman, and you are the worst one in this movie. And it wasn't just the nipples, man. It was like, why are you trying to seduce every single person that you're talking to on screen? It's just really weird. We don't really see him in the Batcave, which is, I will say they did a good job with Keaton there. We don't see him act as Bruce Wayne, really. He's kind of awkward, and Bruce is always kind of awkward, but like he still is kind of a playboy, so we don't see that from him. And George Clooney it's like he was too big for the role. He didn't put any emotion into any of his lines, and I was just like, dude, everything felt flat that he went in there. He had a love interest, and she was like, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, and he's like, I'm a bachelor. And I was like, dude, the other Batmans, I think the other Batman movies were so good because we had people like Keaton and like Kilmer who were falling in love with these great, like strong female actors. And this one, he had like this bombshell of a wife or a girlfriend. And they're like, when are you going to get married? And he's like, oh, I'm just going to like fuck around. It's like they were like, oh, George Clooney is too cool to get married as Batman, or Bruce Wayne doesn't want to be married in this world. And I was just like, okay, well, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But yeah, I just thought his line delivery was terrible. I don't think he was like particularly badass. I think he looked pretty good in the suit, but there were just times where I was just like, this Batman sucks, dude. Like he's not cool. He's not badass. He doesn't look cool fighting things, and he doesn't feel awesome. I don't love Keaton again, but Keaton felt really great as well. I don't want to say that. Because I don't want to go back on my word that I put in these reviews. Keaton wasn't the best Bruce, but he was a decent Batman. Kilmer, I thought, was a really good Batman. Clooney, I was just like, dude, it's just a guy in a suit. Like I was just like, this, I don't like this. So George Clooney, Bruce Wayne, Batman, by a wide margin, gets my, and I think he's the worst Batman for sure, gets my hero who watched the world burn. Okay, guys, that brings us to the score here. Guys, this is a smooth 6.9 because, guys, we are just here, just chilling. We are just here. Drink a glass of wine, guys. Sit back, relax. Oh, I didn't see you there. I'm sorry. Oh, my name's George Clooney, and I'm way too sexy for this role. Guys, this movie isn't great. Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze is fantastic, dude, but it does drag a lot. I found myself checking my phone on this one. I found myself checking the time on the movie. Batman Forever wasn't a great movie, but I had a really good time with that. I thought it was fun and entertaining. I loved Arnold's antics in this one, but I thought all the kind of character exposition that we got with Dick in the last movie, where we saw the Flying Graysons die and we saw him come in and is Bruce going to accept him, all that? I thought because we already did all of that. In this one, I was like, okay, I get that Robin's part of the team now, but I was like, it's like a lesser version of what we got last time. So that wasn't as good to me. The story was garbage. I was like, this is weird. I would have liked if like Mr. Freeze had to kill Batman or something to save his wife, or like there was better motive instead of just being like, I want to freeze all of Gotham and Gotham will tell me that this is your frozen grave. And I was like, all right, dude, I don't know what's happening here. But Poison Ivy, I thought it was pretty good. I thought Uma Thurman was pretty good. and I thought Robin was good, but I mentioned, guys, Clooney was horrible. So yeah, 6.9. It's just not a good movie. Okay, guys, that brings us to our rankings here. So, guys, this one slots in at number 4 out of 5. So we have Batman Returns at number 1. We have Batman Forever at number 2. We have 1989 Batman number 3. Then this one, Batman and Robin, and then 1966 Batman. Yeah, guys, I put this slightly above the 1966 Batman, but Arnold is so good. But I really can't see myself watching this one again. Or I'm glad I experienced it, but it is just like, oh, like this is a rough one. I think we could have done without this, and them having so many different Bruces and Batmans, I think really hurt the franchise. And looking back now, if they had given Keaton 4 movies, I think it would have been excellent, because I think he really could have developed a great character between movies 3 and 4 there. But because they threw in Kilmer, who I thought did a great job, or even giving Kilmer a second movie here, I was so surprised that he got one and then we went to Clooney, and I was like, I don't know, because I'm sure people maybe didn't like Kilmer, but I really liked his performance. And so I would have liked, at the very least, to have 2 Keaton, 2 Kilmer, but it just shows you, like, when you don't have continuity, what that does to the story and how it hurts the story. But yeah, guys, this one, not a good movie. Slots in at 4 out of 5, and that's all I got to say out of this one. Okay, guys, that's it. That's another episode of From Wayne to Wonder. Thanks for checking out Project Potter, guys. Thanks for checking out the channel. Appreciate you guys. This is the last of, once again, the old Batman movies, guys. So we have Batman Begins next week, kicking off the Dark Knight trilogy. I'm excited for that one, guys. Cannot wait. We got the Dark Knight trilogy, and then we have the Batman. It's getting closer and closer, guys, and I cannot believe it's already February, but I'm very excited to lead up into this new movie, and I cannot wait. I really hope that the Batman doesn't disappoint, because I feel like the hype train is very high. And the last movie that there was a lot of hype going into was Spider-Man No Way Home, and that exceeded my expectations, which I didn't think was possible. This one is a little bit different, but a lot of people are saying that the Batman might be better than Dark Knight. Dark Knight is pretty close to a perfect movie. We'll see, guys. I'll look at it with a fresh eye in a couple of weeks when we do that. But for now, guys, this has been From Wayne to Wonder. Thanks for checking out the channel. My name's been Kyle, your host. Like, comment, subscribe if you guys did like it. And until next time, guys, I'm Batman.